Hello and welcome to match day 2 of UEFA Champions League Fantasy, my very first season making content for the UCL. And we went all right in game week, well, match day 1. And this week, it's the week of wildcards. I played my wildcard in game week 6 in FPL. And this week, I'm also playing my wildcard in the UEFA Champions League Fantasy game as well. So I'm hoping that this game goes a little bit better than the game in FPL because it didn't go overly well on the weekend for me, but that was down to my captaincy more than anything else. But if you are enjoying this content and you like the UCL stuff and you're here for that, please smash a like on the video. Leave us a comment with what you're doing for the match day. I'm also going to do a deadline stream tomorrow in the lead up to the kickoff of the games tomorrow night. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be putting a link up for that later, probably early tomorrow during the day. And without further ado, if you haven't already smashed that subscribe button and you want more content, please consider doing so as well. And with that being said, ladies and gents, let's get into it. So match day 1, how did it go for me? I got 79 points, which, let's be honest, is better than anything else I've done in FPL this season. So I got off to a half-decent start. I don't actually know how many teams are in there, but there's over 1 million, so I'm at least in the top 50%, I think, with an overall rank of 462,813, 79 points. The defense, pretty damn good on the whole, other than Shah. I mean, 7, 7, 7, and 6 looks pretty good. I mean, it's better than any of my defenders in FPL have done this season in any game week through 6 weeks. So I'm pretty happy with how that went. In the midfield, it was a little bit disappointing. Rafinha only got the 2 points, and I thought potentially he might do something. I actually got the wrong Barcelona player. It was actually Marcus Rashford I wanted, but he's a forward. And realistically, I was never going to get him. Vitinha, I thought originally Kvaratskhelia was going to be injured, and he's also flagged again now, potentially under a doubt again. So I didn't go with him in my match day 1 squad because of the fact I didn't think he was going to play. Then Elise, obviously, he got 4 points, so that was all right. So it's not like they blanked, but it wasn't like I missed out on some of these massive hauls. Like the Sporting Lisbon players, they absolutely popped. And maybe I'm bringing him in on my wild card after they've already scored the points, and it could be a case of points chasing. But yeah, it is what it is. And then up front, Pavlidis did well. He got 1 goal. Haaland got a goal. And Mbappe, I actually got the captaincy right. Picking him as captain, I'm glad I didn't bother changing it because no one else got anywhere remotely where near him. 13 points, doubled to 26. That was very good. On the bench, we had Chevalier, exactly the same points as Vicario. I took Rice off, I took Caicedo off, and I took Araújo off as well. So thankfully, I didn't get any of the manual subs wrong as well, which was quite nice. And moving forward, hopefully that is something I'll be able to continue to do with a little bit of luck. So yeah, I was pretty happy with the way match day 1 went. Considering I'd never played the game before and I didn't really know what I was doing, let's be honest, I thought realistically it actually turned out to be not too bad. So let's have a look at the review of the games, and there were lots of goals. So PSV lost 1-3 to Union, which I thought was a little bit of a shock. I thought it was going to be the other way around. Arsenal did what Arsenal do, keep clean sheets and won by the odd goal. Real Madrid versus Marseille, that was an interesting game. But it was a lot closer than I thought that was going to be as well. But Real Madrid did get over the line. Juventus versus Borussia Dortmund was an unbelievable game. I actually saw the highlights of that. And it was a game where there was no goals. And all of a sudden, there was just an absolute plethora of them. And there weren't like bad goals. They were all bangers. Like, it was just unbelievable. Benfica, big upset there. Lost 2-3 to Karabakh after leading 2-0 at home. Disappointing, and that cost the manager the sack, and now Jose Mourinho's there. Spurs obviously got the job done against Villarreal 1-0. Olympiacos and Paphos on the that's on the Wednesday night. It's Thursday for me because it's always in the morning of the day after. So in case you're wondering why it's on a Friday, it's not. So Olympiacos Paphos, probably the most boring game of the game week. The only game that actually finished 0-0. Slavia Praga, Bodo Glimt 2-2 draw. That was an interesting game. Ajax lost 2-0 to Inter. Liverpool beat Atletico Madrid in an absolute banger, 3-2. That was incredible. I mean, typical Liverpool, just leaving it to the 90th minute to get some points there. Bayern Munich easily accounted for Chelsea, and I think Chelsea's bad run of form has started post that game. PSG did what PSG do in the Champions League, wiped the floor of everyone else 4-0. Then on the final day of the match day, it was Copenhagen, Leverkusen 2-2, Club Brugge 4-1 over Monaco, Sporting 4-1 over Kuwait Almaty, Frankfurt 5-1 over Galatasaray, Man City 2-0 over Napoli, and Newcastle losing back in the Champions League 1-2 at home to Barcelona. So who were the stars at match day 1? And these are the guys that got voted by the technical advisor, which means you got 3 extra points in your team. Phil Foden, no surprise. He's had a very good start to the season. Jonathan Beckett got 3 points there as well. Trincao was incredible for Sporting Lisbon in that game at home where they just wiped the floor of the opposition. Vanaken got a goal and an assist, so well done to him. Larson also did very well. The PSG one was interesting because Nuno Mendes and old mate McKinney both scored, but Kvaratskhelia, oh my God, I can never say that guy's name. He got man of the match, which I thought was interesting. Considering 2 defenders scored, you would have thought maybe one of them would have got it. Harry Kane, that was just a very easy one in that particular game. Virgil van Dijk with that very late winner was enough to get the points there in that one as well. Marcus Thuram for his double. He was brilliant in that game for our Inter, so 3 points for him. Lucas Provod, he got the 3 points there. Lucasen, I don't even know who that is. I think it was in a game. I didn't really know who the teams were. He got the 3 points there for man of the match. Kylian Mbappe, that was another easy one. 2 goals to Real Madrid, and they got over the line because of him. Now, the Juventus Borussia Dortmund game, Vlahovic, I believe, came off the bench to get a brace and steal the player of the match. So he did very well, but you could have picked a number of players in that game. It was just lots of entertainment. Bicalco got 3 points in that game. Bergvall for Spurs, which is an interesting pick. He obviously he was just really good in that game. And a lot of people have been talking to me about him in FPL. If he had more attacking returns, I'd think he'd be a really good asset, but because he doesn't, it's hard to really recommend him. El Hadj got amazing points, and he was obviously the man of the match in that game as well. Martinelli with that goal for Arsenal was enough to get him the thing. And then Marcus Rashford, the boy that's on loan from Manchester United, reminding Manchester United what they're missing out on was some absolutely clinical, out-of-this-world finishing with a brace on his return to England. That second goal was the Marcus Rashford of old. And if Barcelona can get anything like that out of him the rest of the season, they're going to go okay. So those are all the people across the games that got the plus 3 points. Well done to all of them. Hopefully this week, a few more of my players feature in this because I only have one in match day 1. And I'd like a few more in match day 2. So my review, there was 67 goals across 18 games, which comes in at an average of 3.72 goals per game. Now, that is just ridiculous when you look at what the stats are in the Premier League and the Bundesliga, which are normally the highest scoring leagues. Nowhere near that amount. And I think the main reason why is because a lot of these teams that are like kind of cannon fodder just got absolutely wiped, like 4-1, 5-1, 4-1. There was a lot of them, and obviously that Borussia Dortmund Juventus game, which finished 4-4, that definitely aided the boost of the goals as well. But that's all you want. I would rather watch goals than sit there and watch boring 0-0 games. And thankfully, the Champions League only had one of them in match day 1. Now, manual subs and captaincy this week were pretty easy to nail because the fixtures were spread across 3 different nights. Now, it's going to be a lot harder for match day 2 onwards because they're only going to be split over 2, which is going to require a little bit of thinking, and you're going to have to take a few more gambles with players playing on the same night and working out whether they're going to be better that week or if you just want to bench them and not worry about them. Now, only 7 out of the 32 teams kept clean sheets, which I thought was interesting. Like the Premier League, the last 2 weeks, we've barely seen any clean sheets, and in Europe, it was very low as well. I think that the mass is almost under 25%. I think it's about 26% of teams actually kept clean sheets, which is just ridiculous. It's actually under 25%, sorry. It's about 23.5%. I've just worked out my maths is not working that well for me at the moment. Targeting the weaker teams in the group stage definitely seems to be the play. I mean, Sporting Lisbon, anyone that went with Quenda and Trincao absolutely monstered the scores in match day 1. And I think that's probably where you want to target. You want to look at those teams that I don't know where they're from, and I don't think they've been in the Champions League before. And if there's a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, a PSG, or someone like this playing them, load up on their assets and hope they don't get rested and they deliver big scores, because we saw that can happen, particularly in match day 1. Now, the premium assets, Mbappe, Kane, Salah, Haaland, they all dominated in game week 1, and I think that is a sign of things to come. These players show up. They love the European nights, and I think moving forward, they're also fixture-proof players. And in reality, when you're picking players, you're only allowed 2 transfers a week, and it's very hard to kind of make money or whatever because of the way the game works. It's very different to FPL in that case. I think you're better off targeting fixture-proof players. So for that reason, you'll see what I've done on my wild card for match day 2, and I'm intrigued to know what you guys are doing for your match day 2s, whether you're wild carding as well. But I don't know if I've got it right, but I certainly hope that I've done it a bit better than what I did in my FPL game week 6 wild card. Let's put it that way. So the match day 2 fixtures are split literally across 2 nights. They start tomorrow night on Tuesday night, and it's Karat versus Real Madrid, Atlanta versus Club Brugge, the early 2 kickoffs. Then it's Bodo Glimt versus Tottenham, Galatasaray versus Liverpool, Chelsea versus Benfica, Atletico Madrid versus Frankfurt, Inter Milan versus Slavia Prague, Marseille versus Ajax, and Paphos versus Bayern Munich, which should hopefully be a nice game for Bayern Munich. Then on to the following night, the Wednesday night, it's Karabakh versus Copenhagen, Union SG versus Newcastle, Arsenal versus Olympiacos, Leverkusen versus PSG, Napoli versus Sporting Lisbon, Monaco versus Man City. Hopefully the Haaland show continues on there. Borussia Dortmund versus Athletic Club, Villarreal versus Juventus, and Barcelona versus PSG, in what should be an absolutely cracking game of football, I hope. And I'll be staying up to watch that one because I'm on school holidays, so I don't have to worry about the sleeping pattern being completely out of whack for the next 2 weeks, which is fantastic stuff. I'm actually going to get to watch some of the games live this week, which is fantastic. So my final plugs for match day 2, expect more goals as a few easy teams go up against the big guns. Like as I talked about before, Bayern Munich obviously and Real Madrid play, I think, probably 2 of the easier teams in the Champions League group stage. So they should be getting goals. So hopefully if you're targeting those players, that's probably the way to go this week. Manual subs and captaincy between the 2 nights will be considerably harder this week, so don't get too downbeat if you get it slightly wrong and you leave some points on the bench. I think that's inevitable over the coming weeks because it's going to be much harder to spread your players out across 3 weeks. Across the 2 match days is what I meant. If you're on wildcard, make sure you're happy with your team. Like, as I said, you only get 2 free transfers here on out, and a hit, if you want to make more than that, is still -4. It's exactly the same as FPL, so you don't want to sit there and be changing your team every single week and just getting it wrong. Also, FYI, I didn't realize this, so in FPL, until you make a transfer, your wildcard technically isn't active. In the Champions League, UCL Fantasy, if you actually press the wildcard button and confirm it or whatever, you don't have to make a transfer. It's automatically locked. Because I didn't realize this and I was like mucking around. I was like, I wonder what I can do and just see whatever. I pressed the button without even making a transfer. And I was like, oh, you can't turn it off. So as soon as you press it, unlike FPL where you can stop it and reverse it if you haven't already made a transfer, you can't do that in the UEFA Champions League Fantasy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I definitely couldn't. And I was kind of locked in once that actually happened. Expect some of the big teams, if winning comfortably, to actually rest their players. So, for example, I think if Man City are comfortably beating Monaco or Real Madrid have beaten the team they're playing, that I can't remember the name of, but it's a weaker team. If they're winning comfortably, there's a strong chance that they will rest players post 60 minutes on the clock or whatever. So just hope that doesn't happen, but I feel like potentially that might happen, particularly with the Premier League teams. We've already seen mad rotation and players having their minutes managed considerably in the Premier League so far this season for the first 6 game weeks. There's every reason that Arsenal, if they're beating Olympiacos easily at home, will probably rotate some of their players in that second half around the 60-minute mark. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to be targeting 90-minute men or you just want to be targeting defenders potentially that might get taken off of the clean sheet. Something to keep in mind, and I think that we will see that, especially versus the weaker teams. And yeah, the best strategy is probably big at the top. I've spent 30-odd mil, as we're about to find out, on my forwards, and I think that's the way. They just dominated in match day 1, and I can see them dominating again in match day 2, 2 of them in particular. And lastly, remember to have fun and pick the players you actually want. Don't ignore me. I'm useless this season in FPL. I had so much luck last year, and this year I've been deserted. But pick the players you want. If there's a team that you support and you want to pick a player from them, pick them. Have fun. The game at the end of the day is to have fun. If you finish on top and you win the whole thing, congratulations, well done. But if you don't, you might as well have fun and have a little bit of an experimentation with the game as you play it. So on to my team selection for match day 2. And look, I'm going with Chevalier in goal against obviously Barcelona. I put that as a red fixture because I think that will actually be quite hard for PSG. I've then got Paschalakis, who's the Galatasaray or the Olympiacos goalkeeper against Arsenal away. Now, again, that's not going to be an easy fixture either, and I don't expect them to keep a clean sheet. But I just thought that I don't want to be wasting too much money on the goalkeepers, and none of them really did massive amounts of points in match day 1. So I think it's not worth paying up for like 6 mil for a goalkeeper when you can get the PSG one, arguably part of the best defense in Europe, for 4.5. It makes no sense to go for anyone else, I think. So I'm quite happy with that. And look, the least money you spend on the goalkeepers, I think that means that you can spend more money, particularly up front, which is very important, I think, in the UEFA Champions League fantasy game. So one of our defenders, and Dumfries stays on wildcard. I think he's really good. He's got that really nice fixture against Slavia Prague at home, and hopefully he can keep a clean sheet there. Now, I've tripled up on the PSG defence, mainly because of the fact that the forward I really want was Kvaratskhelia, and he's under a flag, and I don't want to be taking injured players into my team. So look, we've gone with Nuno Mendes and Hakimi in a double up there at 6 million apiece. It is an expensive defence, let's be honest. Calafiori obviously has a nice Olympiacos. There you go. Olympiacos, that's who it is. He's got the nice Olympiacos fixture. I think that should be a green fixture for Arsenal at home in particular. I can't see a reason why it wouldn't be. Quender's obviously the last defender. He's at 5 mil. Realistically, he's probably not going to be playing this week. He's just going to be sitting on the bench. Napoli away. Unless Dumfries doesn't go well on the first day of the match day, or Calafiori, then Quender's probably going to stay there. I'm going to play Nuno Mendes and Hakimi probably in front of him. But moving forward, he'll be a very good option over the coming weeks, hopefully, from that position on the bench. So on my midfielders, and look, we've got Trincao again joining Quender on the bench. Napoli away is not an easy fixture, but I do like some of the Sporting Lisbon fixtures coming up post this match day. Then we're going with Elise. He's got an amazing fixture away against Paphos. You would expect him to do quite well there. Yildiz was really good in match day 1, and Villarreal I don't think is the worst fixture in the world. He should be okay. Now, Barrenechea has got Chelsea away. With the way Chelsea have been defending and the injuries they've got in the defence, I actually don't mind that as a punt at 5 mil. Realistically, I'm expecting him to be the last person on the bench every single week when I make the manual subs. But at the moment, he's on, and realistically, he's probably going to come off for one of the big boys that is sitting on the bench as one of my forwards because he plays on the second day of the match day. And then Doku, Monaco away, 7 million. I don't know. I can't justify bringing him in an FPL, but because he's 1 million cheaper and I didn't have an extra million to bring in Phil Foden, I've gone with Doku, and I'm hoping for big things. He's looked really good in the Premier League so far this season. He's been getting lots of assists. His goal threat isn't quite there, but he does create a lot, and he's been creating a lot for Haaland. I think that realistically, he could be a really good shout moving forward during the group stage, particularly while Man City get their other players back fit and available. Doku should be nailed on the left because there's literally no one else that can play out there and do it any well other than him at the moment. And then up front, we've gone with Harry Kane against Paphos away and Mbappe against... Can't remember how to say that team's name, but against Kai away. They both should be an amazing fixtures. I've gone with Mbappe as captain, but I'm kind of tempted to put it on Kane. Let me know in the comments which one you would go for, Kane or Mbappe. And then obviously Haaland, the third forward sitting on the bench, he's inevitably going to come on. It's just at the moment, I want to see how the rest of the team goes so I can then take off someone that potentially does really poorly on the first night of the match day. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the way the wildcard draft has panned out. I've spent the entire 100 million budget, nothing left in the bank, and I'm hoping that it's going to pay off. I'm hoping it's going to pay off better than my FPL wildcard in Game Week 6. With some luck, it will do. But yeah, let me know. I am going to do a 1-hour deadline stream prior to the first game, which will be, I think, at 6:45. No. Yeah, 6:45, I think. I have to work it out. I'll put the time in there properly. But yeah, I'm quite excited about how the team looks. Hopefully it does better than my FPL team, which has been off to a horrid start this season. And with some luck, hopefully you are off to a good start as well in the UEFA Champions League fantasy game. So that brings me to the end of my match day 1 thoughts and my team selection and my wildcard draft for match day 2. Hopefully you found that insightful and helpful. I will be on tomorrow with a live stream for the deadline, just because of the fact that I am not working. So I've got all this time off on school holidays. So I'll be there. Make sure you join me for that if you are playing Champions League Fantasy. And I'll see you then. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow with the normal FPL content. So keep your eyes out for that one. It'll be differentials and transfer tips probably tomorrow. And remember, it's a Friday deadline on that. And if you've enjoyed that, make sure you give us a like. Smash that subscribe button as well. And good luck in match day 2 UCL Fantasy. That's been FPL, the unit.